Coming out today, June 18th, 2025, we are hearing that Iran has responded to Trump's final warning to the potential threat of attacks from the United States. And we're hearing that Iran has responded back and said Iran will never surrender to the United States, which is leaving us with the final option that it looks like the United States is going to be striking Iran. We will be going into what they are saying is all-out war. This coming out today, like I said, June 18th, 2025. Let's take a look at the latest headlines so that way you can see it for yourself. Iran's leader has rejected a call to surrender, saying the U.S. intervention would cause irreparable damage. Now, this coming as yesterday, I shared with you that Donald Trump had come out and said Iran needs unconditional surrender. There are no other options. This is not a war. This is Iran either being destroyed or surrendering, and they said they will not surrender. Here's another article coming out today. Trump says no decision yet on U.S. joining Israel's attack on Iran after Iran warns that it would risk all-out war if the United States were to attack Iran. And here you can see Trump says, nobody knows what I'm going to do, as Iran warns the United States not to strike. But I think that's more of a begging rather than a warning. Let me know your thoughts. But what we're hearing is right now, Iran is absolutely being destroyed and decimated. And the United States has not yet entered in, but they're saying that if they do, there will be bunker busters. They have the ability to destroy their nuclear facilities underground. And also the supreme leader, they said they are ready to wipe him out at a moment's notice. They have just spared him. So right now they are issuing out these threats, these warnings. Trump is saying, hey, I'm trying to give you an opportunity here not to be totally wiped out and eliminated. And we are hearing that today, June 18th, 2025, the response from Iran is, we will never surrender to you. So, man, let me know your thoughts in the comments. And we're hearing that behind the scenes, there are some Iranian officials that are begging the United States to come back to the negotiating table to see if they can come to some sort of agreement for peace. And Donald Trump is saying, it's a little too late for that. We've given you a chance. We've had 5 weeks worth of meetings. We try to get a 6th one. We know you're stalling for time, and now the time is up. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Is the United States going to strike Iran and wipe them out? If so, put yes. If no, put no. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. So I'm going to dive into the latest video footage and articles coming out today so that way you can see it for yourself. As you know, here on the channel, I cite all the sources, put it on the screen, read right from it, hyperlink it so you can click the articles, go read them for yourself, try to hold myself to the highest level of accountability so that way you can know and rest assured that this is the latest information coming out. See the sources, see the dates. So we're going to cover all the details for you. And if you appreciate that, like I said, hit that like button for me. Just takes a second, spreads this out further while we're live on YouTube. Subscribe to stay up to date. It's totally free. Why not? And in addition to that, just going to get you all the latest while you're dropping in those yeses and nos. And I'm seeing a ton of yeses coming in as people are saying it is time for the United States to strike Iran with everything that is going on. Now, in addition to that, I wanted to mention to you guys right now that there are going to be economic repercussions for what is currently unfolding. So if you're somebody that's approaching retirement right now, or you're already there and you're worried about rising costs, you're not alone. There's a recent survey that came out that said they found about 92% of retirees are concerned about inflation reducing the value of their savings. Let me know. Are you feeling the cost of goods hitting your savings? And now with the tensions escalating around the world and the possibility of war growing, the stakes are even higher. So for retirees and those that are on fixed incomes, inflation is going to be especially dangerous. Your dollar will be buying less, your savings is going to stretch thin, and your financial future can feel more uncertain by the day. And that is why today I'm partnering with my friends over at Lear Capital. They're going to be able to help you protect and diversify your retirement savings with physical gold and silver, real assets that have held their value through every kind of economic storm. Unlike stocks or paper currency that can be affected by inflation, interest rates, global instability, silver has historically served as a hedge and a safe haven. And right now it's very affordable, and they're saying it's going to just continue to go up in value. When you call Lear, you're going to be able to speak with a real person who will take time to help understand your financial goals, walk you through how to invest for your personal situation. And this call is completely free. It's free education, free information, no pressure. So if you're interested in investing in precious gold or silver metals, give them a call. And one of my viewers actually reached out to them recently and said that it gave them so much peace of mind knowing that they were able to just walk them through, no obligation, just free information. So you can go ahead and give them a call at 1-800-411-2430 or go to learram.com to get your free wealth protection guide. They even provide you a guide that you can study to make a decision. Again, that's 1-800-411-2430 or go to learram.com. One more time, 1-800-411-2430 or go to learram.com. Learn how to invest in silver, how it can help protect your retirement for whatever comes next. So again, thank you to Lear for making that available to my viewing audience. But now let's go ahead and dive into some video footage so that way you can see it for yourself. Now this has just come out in the past hour, some of these updates. Let's go ahead and take a look.
But first, let's go live to Trey Yingst in Tel Aviv with the latest from the ground. Trey.
Kaylee, good afternoon. Overnight, Iran launched around 30 ballistic missiles into Israel. The vast majority were intercepted by air defense systems. Here's what it looked like as efforts were made to shoot down those incoming missiles. Right now, there are ballistic missiles being fired at Israel's second largest city of Tel Aviv. Currently, missile defense systems are working to shoot down the incoming fire. We are going to take some cover here as this unfolds. You can see in the distance interceptor rounds coming off, trying to shoot down. Pull it off the tripod. And let's move inside. The flash there in the sky, explosions overhead. And again, this is the third barrage.
Are you currently saving for retirement, or even already retired? There's a few things you might want to know.
These barrages are getting smaller, prompting Israel's Home Front Command to reduce restrictions for civilians here. Work will resume for businesses that have shelters, but schools will remain closed. As the war enters its sixth day, Iran's supreme leader made his first televised remarks since the new conflict began, directly contradicting President Trump's calls for an unconditional surrender. The Iranian nation stands firm against the imposed war, the Ayatollah says, as it has stood so far, and stands firm against the imposed peace. The Iranian nation will not surrender to anyone in the face of imposition. With no end in sight, Israel is ramping up airstrikes against Iran, targeting dozens of new positions overnight. Fox News has learned new details about a strike earlier in the week that took out IRGC Major General Ali Shamani. An Israeli official says that on Monday night, a secret compound located in a mountain outside of Tehran was targeted, killing dozens of IRGC operatives. Among them, several senior commanders who fled from the location to another hideout in Tehran. This source says the commanders were tracked to the new location and then taken out. As the war continues, the big question here is whether or not the United States will get directly involved in the fight, launching strikes of its own against Iran. Kaylee?
Trey, thank you. Well, back here at home, President Trump was asked about the U.S. potentially entering the conflict with the strike on Iran's nuclear facilities. Here's how he responded.
You don't seriously think I'm going to answer that question? Will you strike the Iranian nuclear component? And what time exactly, sir? Sir, would you strike it? Would you please inform us so we can be there and watch? I mean, you don't know that I'm going to even do it. You don't know. I may do it. I may not do it. I mean, nobody knows what I'm going to do. I can tell you this, that Iran's got a lot of trouble, and they want to negotiate. And I said, why didn't you negotiate with me before? All this death and destruction. Why didn't you negotiate? I said to the people, why didn't you negotiate with me 2 weeks ago? You could have done fine.
It's a great question. Well, the president also reiterated exactly what he wants from the Iranian regime.
But is there anybody here that said it would be okay to have a hostile, very, zealots really, but to have a hostile country have a nuclear weapon that could destroy 25 miles, but much more than that, could destroy other nations just by the breeze blowing the dust. That dust blows to other nations and they get decimated. This is just not a threat you can have. And we've been threatened by Iran for many years, and we cannot let Iran get a nuclear weapon. I've been saying it for a long time, and I mean it more now than I ever meant it. Two very simple words, a very simple, unconditional surrender. That means I've had it. Okay, I've had it, I give up, no more. Then we go blow up all the all the nuclear stuff that's all over the place there. No, they had bad intentions. The For 40 years, they've been saying death to America, death to Israel, death to anybody else that they didn't like. They were bullies. They were schoolyard bullies. And now they're not bullies anymore.
You know, there's this very unique juxtaposition, Joey, and I want to put it up. President Trump mentioned the two words. He put up these two words in all caps. It's President Trump, unconditional surrender. I've been following what this so-called supreme leader has been saying, and he seemed to directly address this. Here's what he said. Americans must know that the Iranian nation will not surrender. You know, Joey, in my years studying international relations, when you're talking about nuclear war, one of the calculuses is having rational state actors on the other end who have a limiting principle. That limiting principle is self-preservation. I'm not sure when you're dealing with fanaticism, that limiting principle is there, which underscores why Iran can never have a nuclear weapon.
Yeah, I think I struggle to find the specifics here of what unconditional surrender means, because my instinct is, looking at President Trump through the entire election and his rhetoric all along, is that he's meaning unconditional surrender of your nuclear program. But we've also seen him be more open to this idea that they should go into exile, or that Israel is going to see this war to its end. It's my belief that Israel doesn't believe that an Iran exists under this regime that doesn't pursue nuclear weapons and continue to fund terrorist organizations. So what incentive does Israel have to not go to the end, in the end meaning regime change? But President Trump has painted himself and really backed it up as an anti-regime change president. Hey, they're all bad. I'm not going to decide who's in power. I'm going to make sure they can't hurt us. And I think this is in line with that. I think if President Trump decided today, let me back up. I think President Trump is not indecisive in this moment. I don't think he's trying to figure it out. I think there are markers he's looking for. I don't know if that's reassurance from other countries not get involved, or if it's a specific thing from Iran, or if it's a specific set of intelligence that he's looking for. But I believe he knows if this, then that. And that's what he's following through with.
Yeah, and there are several different courses that can be pursued. You know, regime change doesn't need to be a part of it. It can be a limited precision strike and assistance with Israel as they try to take out Fordo. This happened last night. I want to play this. This is Barack Ravid. We highlighted some of his reporting yesterday. Here's what he is hearing from Israel.
Procrastination isn't your fault. It's
Israeli officials.
At least from what I hear from Israeli officials, the overall impression on the Israeli side is that a U.S. strike on Iran is not an if, it's a when. And it's not, and when they say when, it's not next year. It's something that is much closer. And the feeling on the Israeli side is that Trump has made a decision to join the war, and it's just a matter of time until it happens.
At the same time, Harris, there's this reporting from the Wall Street Journal. Israel has a plan for Fordo, that's the nuclear plant that they would need help from the U.S. with, and they have the ability to carry it out on its own, a senior Israeli military official told the Wall Street Journal without elaborating. So a lot of pieces, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, so I had on Brett Velikovich, who is a contributor with us now, but we know him because he's former Army Special Ops and intel for the military. And one of the things he said was the timing is so critical right now, Joey. Like that, there's a really small window where, as the president said, and I put this in quotes, we control, I would assume that's U.S. and Israel control the airspace of Iran. That may not exist for any long period of time that we would know about, that anybody could guess. I'm still asking the question. Something's giving them some kind of bravado. Is there, what don't we know?
Yeah. Talking about that facility and Israel having a plan, the U.S. plan would be to take a giant bomb and drop it, because our president, Secretary of Defense understand that our people don't want troops on the ground. That doesn't mean that's the only option for Israel.
Yeah, they might have another option. Emily, I also want to underscore, the New York Times is reporting that Iran's preparing missiles for possible retaliatory strikes on U.S. bases. Officials say we would expect that to be part of their plan. I just want to highlight, though, and we've talked about this, going back over time, Iran has killed many Americans. Here's a number, and we've investigated this with our brain room, cross-check with Pentagon numbers, 603 troops and Iraq died at the hands of Iranian proxies. They have killed Americans for years and years and years, and they will continue to.
And that's why, in part, the very first statement by U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio was, do not attack any U.S. troops, drawing that line clear. I'll say that my sources in Tel Aviv believe very strongly that the United States is collaborating on a much deeper, more fundamental level with Israel than we might be hearing publicly. And I think the whole point is that there's different gradations, and we've talked about that. There's different gradations, and there's a spectrum to everything, to the concept of what the definition of interventionism is, to the definition of how far do we see this, right? And potentially the toppling of the Islamic Republic. Well, what does that look like? And I think that the primary questions we should be asking is, what next? Not necessarily in this moment, but what next if we don't do anything? And to me, that's the strongest answer for doing nothing, is emboldening and furthering our enemy's interests so that that tragic number of 603 doesn't escalate, because we know it's going to include as well Israelis. And we see that, by the way, in just the last few days of the campaign. We see exactly where Iran's mindset is, which is taking the largest metropolis areas of Israel and trying to levy the biggest destruction on those. That's completely opposite from the surgical precision levied by Israel, our allies, and ourselves. We've talked about the silence by the neighboring countries. I think a lot of people are waiting and hoping that Israel finishes this job. But I think the whole point is we have elected this particular commander-in-chief to represent our interests. And with that, the final goal of peace through strength includes the eradication of the nuclear program, and by that, the definition of success, and also the deterrent so that Iran doesn't simply rear its ugly head the day after and continue their malign behavior, which has been a wretched source of terror throughout the globe.
Cheryl, we were just looking at images of Tehran, and you can see Israel and the attacks that they're waging. Much of Tehran under blackout right now. Part of that might be because the regime doesn't want people to see what is going on and the wreckage there as you're looking at it. Some of it's cyber attacks from Israel.
Well, and also to remember that the regime actually turned off the internet the day that the strikes began, when this war began last week. But you know, the war isn't just about missiles and explosions. War can also be financial war. And this morning, the Predatory Sparrow hacker group, this is a pro-Israel crypto hacker group, they basically destroyed $90 million in cryptocurrency from Iran at their crypto exchange. What the Iranians do is that's how they fund the proxies, the Houthis, Hamas. Yeah. It's through cryptocurrency. Well, the Israelis, this pro-Israel hacker group went after them. That's one issue. The other is that remember that Iran exports, or they were exporting, about 3.3 million barrels of oil per day through the Strait of Hormuz. The question mark is now, do they try to shut down the Strait of Hormuz? No, they don't, because they're exporting to China, and they don't want to cut off that financial lifeline. Sanctions have not been effective against the Iranians. We've been talking about this for years, and the Ayatollahs have been ineffective for the Iranians for 40 years. And I think the time is now.
Yeah, and that window could be shorter than we know. You mentioned, Joey, about what happens if we don't act, and I think, Emily, you alluded to it too. I think Israel does what you said. They keep going.
Yeah, they keep going. And
there you have it, you guys. Let me know your thoughts. We're hearing that the United States likely will be jumping into this. Now, we're going to see. Let me share with you the latest headlines that have come out today in just the past couple of hours. June 18th, 2025, as we have now heard that Trump has given his final warning, and today Iran has responded and said, we will never surrender. We will not stop, and we will not be pressured by the United States. And in the comments, people were mentioning this. Iran is in a position of weakness right now. They are being devastated by Israel. The United States has not even jumped in yet. And they're issuing these threats, and Trump is saying, we are prepared to wipe you out. In fact, the supreme leader, we could kill you right now. We know exactly where you are. We've got the bunker busters to do so. We are trying to give you the opportunity to not be eliminated by offering you unconditional surrender, to which we're hearing today, June 18th, 2025. Iran has come out and said, we will never surrender. So let's take a look at the headlines that have been coming out today so that way you can see it for yourself. As always, these articles are going to be hyperlinked in the description so you can read them as well. Iran's leader rejects the call to surrender, saying the U.S. intervention would cause irreparable damage. Now, this reads, Iran's supreme leader on Wednesday today rejected the U.S. calls for surrender in the face of more Israeli strikes and warned that any military involvement by the Americans would cause irreparable damage to them. The second public appearance of the Supreme Leader since the Israeli strikes began 6 days ago came as Israel lifted some restrictions on daily life, suggesting that the missile threat from Iran was easing. Now, the Supreme Leader spoke a day after U.S. President Donald Trump demanded in a social media post that Iran surrender without conditions and warned the Supreme Leader that the U.S. knows where he is but has no plans to kill him, at least for now. Trump initially distanced himself from Israel's surprise attack on Friday that triggered the conflict, but in recent days he has hinted at greater American involvement, saying that he wants something much bigger than a ceasefire. The U.S. has also sent more military aircrafts and warships into the region. Now, in a video address to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, in a video address to Israelis, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu expressed appreciation for Trump's support in the conflict, calling him a great friend of Israel and praising the U.S.'s help defending Israeli skies. And we are hearing, as I shared with you yesterday, that more U.S. troops and forces are making their way to the Middle East right now. We speak consistently, including last night. He said on Wednesday today, we had a very warm conversation. The Iranian nation is not one to surrender. The Supreme Leader dismissed the threatening and absurd statements by Trump. Now, wise individuals who know Iran, its people, and its history never speak to this nation with that language of threats because the Iranian nation is not one to surrender, he said in a low-resolution video, his voice echoing. Americans should know that any military involvement by the U.S. will undoubtedly result in irreparable damage to them. Iran released the Supreme Leader's statement before the video was aired, perhaps as a security measure. His location is not known, and it was impossible to discern from the tight shot, which showed only beige curtains, an Iranian flag, and a portrait of Grand Ayatollah, I don't know the name for there, but the Supreme Leader is immediate predecessor who died back in 1989. An Iranian diplomat had warned earlier on Wednesday that the U.S. intervention would risk all-out war, and we're hearing that it is very likely that we could be going that route here very soon. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Ismail Baghahi did not elaborate, but thousands of American troops are based in nearby countries within range of Iran's weapons. The U.S. has threatened a massive response to any attack. Another Iranian official said that the country would keep enriching uranium for peaceful purposes, apparently ruling out Trump's demands that Iran give up its disputed nuclear program. Now, strikes in and around Tehran. Israeli military spokesperson Brigadier General Efi Defrin told a news conference on Wednesday today that Israel launched 3 waves of aerial attacks in the last 24 hours, deploying dozens of warplanes to strike over 60 targets in Tehran and western Iran, including missile launches and missile production sites. Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz said that the military also struck the headquarters of Iran's internal security forces. Without specifying the agency or location, the strike marks a shift toward targeting Iran's domestic security apparatus, which has long cracked down on dissent and suppressed protests. In addition, the UN nuclear watchdog agency, Israel hit 2 centrifuges production facilities in and near Tehran, they said. Israel's air campaign has struck several nuclear and military sites, ending the lives of top generals and nuclear scientists. A Washington-based Iranian human rights group said at least 585 people, including 239 civilians, had lost their lives in Iran and more than 1,300 were wounded. In retaliation, Iran has fired some 400 missiles and hundreds of drones, ending the lives of at least 24 people in Israel and wounding hundreds. Some have hit apartment buildings in central Israel, causing heavy damage. Israeli military officials said their defenses intercepted 10 missiles overnight and several more Wednesday evening as Iran's retaliatory brigades diminished. Air raid sirens forced Israelis to run for shelters. There were no reports of injuries. Iran has fired fewer missiles as the conflict has worn on. It has not explained the decline, but Israel has targeted launchers and other infrastructure related to these missiles. By Wednesday today, Israel eased some of the restrictions that it had imposed on civilians when Iran launched its retaliatory attacks, allowing gatherings of up to 30 people and letting workplaces reopen as long as there is a shelter nearby. Schools are currently closed and many businesses remain shuttered. But Israel's decision to reverse its ban on gathering and office work signals confidence that its attacks have limited Iran's missile capabilities. Casualties mount in Iran. The Washington-based group, human rights activists, said that it had identified 239 of those who had lost their lives in the Israeli strikes as civilians and 126 as security personnel. The group, which also provided detailed casualty figures during the 2022 protests over the death of Mahsa Amini, cross-checks local reports against the network of sources that it has developed in Iran. Iran has not been publishing regular death tolls during the conflict and has minimized casualties in the past. Its last update, issued on Monday, put the toll at 224 people losing their lives with 1,277 others wounded. Now, internet services, which has faced repeated disruptions in Iran over the past 6 days, crashed on Wednesday today. The internet mounting group NetBlocks reported a near total national internet blackout. And there we heard about those cyber attacks coming from Israel against Iran. That is one of the things that we've been hearing warnings of for here in the United States. Let me know in the comments, is that something that you're concerned of with this conflict erupting? If the United States hit Iran, would you be concerned of sleeper cells or infrastructures issues here in the U.S., as we've heard the warnings of Iran and China infiltrating the United States? Let me know in the comments, yes or no. Are you concerned about attacks on U.S. soil? The Iranian Communications Ministry announced that the government was limiting internet access to prevent Israel's misuse of the country's communication networks for military purposes. Shops have been closed across Tehran, including in its famed Grand Bazaar, as people wait in gas lines and pack roads leading out of the city to escape the onslaught. Witnesses reported that more than 10 powerful explosions shook central Tehran around 8 p.m., sending white smoke into the air. Authorities in Iran offered no acknowledgement of the attacks, which has become increasingly common as the Israelis' airstrikes have intensified. At least one of these strikes appeared to target Tehran's eastern neighborhood, where the paramilitary Revolutionary Guard has an academy. Iran says that it will keep enriching its uranium regardless of what the United States says. Israel says that it has launched the strikes to prevent Iran from building a nuclear weapon. After talks between the United States and Iran over the diplomatic resolution made little visible progress over 2 months, but were still ongoing. Trump has said Israel's campaign came after a 60-day window that he set for the talks. Iran has long insisted its nuclear program is peaceful, though it is the only non-nuclear armed state to enrich uranium up to 60%, a short technical step away from weapons-grade levels of 90%. U.S. intelligence agencies have said that they did not believe Iran was actually pursuing the bomb. Israel is the only country in the Middle East with nuclear weapons, but has never publicly acknowledged them. Iran's ambassador to Geneva, Ali Bahrani, told reporters that Iran will continue to produce the enriched uranium as far as we need for peaceful purposes. He rejected any talk of a setback of Iran's nuclear research and development from Israeli strikes, saying our scientists will continue their work. Frankel reported from Jerusalem. There you have it, you guys. So right now we are hearing that Iran has rejected Trump's call to stop the war, unconditional surrender, and they are saying we will never surrender. Take a look at this. Trump says no decision yet on the U.S. joining Israel's attacks on Iran after Iran warned that it would risk all-out war. Let's take a look at this. And you saw the video footage of Trump responding to that. President Trump said on Wednesday that he had not yet decided whether the U.S. military should join Israel's ongoing attacks on Iran. And he didn't believe that it was too late to reach a deal with the Islamic Republic on its nuclear program, though he warned it was very late to be talking. I may do it, I may not do it. Nobody knows what I'm going to do, Mr. Trump told reporters when he was asked about the U.S. taking part in the strikes on Iran's nuclear and military facilities. Iran has readied missiles and equipment for strikes on the U.S. bases in the region if the U.S. joins Israel's war efforts against Iran, according to a senior U.S. intelligence official and a Pentagon official briefed on the matter. Asked if he believed that it was too late to negotiate a new deal to curb Iran's nuclear program, which he has had made clear that he wants the Iranian government to abandon completely, Mr. Trump said, "Nothing is too late." Mr. Trump said that Iran had sought talks and said that they had suggested sending a delegation for discussions at the White House. So there's confirmation of the rumors. We are hearing that right now they're saying, hey, behind closed doors, behind the scenes, Iran is actually begging to come to the negotiating table with the United States. Donald Trump saying, I'm not sure because we have offered you time and time again. How do we know that you're not just dragging us out? Let me know in the comments. Should the United States strike Iran, or should they just go to the negotiating table and see if we can come to some sort of resolution? If you think that they should strike them, put war in the comments. If you think that they should try to talk with them one last time, put peace. Let me know your thoughts. And while you're doing that, do me a favor. If you haven't done so yet, if you appreciate the live stream update, hit that like button. And let's continue reading. I said, it's really late, you know. I said, it's very late to be talking, the president said, adding, there's a big difference between now and a week ago, before Israel started hammering Iran with airstrikes. In a social media post, Iran's mission to the United Nations appeared to respond directly to Mr. Trump's remarks, saying no Iranian official has ever asked to grovel at the gates of the White House. The only thing more despicable than his lies is his cowardly threat to take out Iran's supreme leader, the post said. Iran does not negotiate under duress, shall not accept peace under duress, and certainly not with a has-been warmonger clinging to relevance. Iran shall respond to any threat with a counter-threat and to any action with a reciprocal measure. Wow. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Iran is being absolutely devastated from what we are seeing, and they are still coming very arrogantly, insulting Trump and the United States, and we still haven't even struck them yet. All the devastation has come at the hands of Israel. Let me know your thoughts. Should the United States, should Donald Trump just wipe Iran out and the supreme leader? If you think so, put yes. If you think no, put no. Let me know your thoughts. But I was actually shocked reading this right now. This is the first time I've seen this statement coming out from them. They said Iran does not negotiate under duress. It is not even an option right now. It's essentially you're going to be wiped out or you surrender. They said we shall not accept peace under duress, and certainly not with a has-been warmonger clinging to relevance talking about Donald Trump. Iran shall respond to any threat with a counter-threat and to any action with a reciprocal measure. Just while I was reading that, I was shocked at the arrogance. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Now, an Iranian official had warned earlier Wednesday today that any U.S. intervention in the conflict with Israel would risk all-out war as an unprecedented exchange of fire with warplanes and ballistic missiles entering the sixth day. Overnight, a fresh barrage of Israeli missiles streaked across the skies of Tehran. Most were taken out by Iran's air defenses, but the Israeli military and the United Nations nuclear watchdog agency said another site linked to Iran's nuclear program was hit. Speaking to reporters on Wednesday today, Israeli Defense Force spokesperson Brigadier General Efi Defrin said that the extensive operation overnight involved more than 50 fighter jets deployed for 3 waves of strikes, during which we struck a centrifuge production site that was intended to enable the regime to continue to enhance its uranium enrichment. This complements actions from previous operations that we have conducted targeting components of the nuclear program. The UN's International Atomic Energy Agency said in a social media post that it had information that 2 centrifuge production facilities in Iran, the Tessa Karaj Workshop and the Tehran Research Center, were hit, adding that both sites were previously under the IAEA monitoring and verification as a part of the JCPOA, the international Iranian nuclear deal that Trump withdrew the United States from unilaterally during his first term. Now, Trump has also claimed that he has control over the skies of Iran. Iran retaliated with another wave of missile launches at Israel by the country's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Sirens blared in Israel to warn that they were on their way. but the missiles were intercepted with explosions seen in the sky over Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, and the occupied West Bank. The steady exchange of fire has taken an escalating cost in human lives. Iranian authorities have provided no updates since saying over the weekend that more than 220 people had lost their lives. And here they're giving the details similar to what we saw in the last article. But there you have it, you guys. Man, let me know your thoughts. Now, I actually was reading that statement along with you for the first time, and it was shocking to me, the arrogance of Iran. Let me know your thoughts. Thinking that they are going to, in a position of weakness, issue threats and say we will never surrender, and calling Donald Trump a has-been warmonger. Let me know your thoughts. Now, if you're happy with the way that Donald Trump has been handling this, and he actually had said he did not want to get into a war when he ran his campaign, and he has been trying very hard, it appears, to not go that route. In fact, asking Israel several times to halt, to stop on potential attacks, gave Iran a 60-day window for negotiations, gave them extensions week after week, trying to see if they could come to some sort of solution. Even now today, asking them, hey, just surrender, end this waste of life. And still, he's saying, I'm not sure what I'm going to do. If you are glad that he is handling it the way he is, and you feel like he has tried to go the route of peace, drop a 47 in the comments for support for Donald Trump. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Also, if you haven't done so yet, take a second, hit that like button. But let's take a look at this now. This is what we're hearing today, June 18th, 2025. Trump says nobody knows what he's going to be doing as Iran warns the United States not to strike. And just, I find it amusing that Iran is warning the United States in their position. President Trump on Wednesday today declined to say whether the United States is moving closer to a decision to strike Iranian nuclear facilities after Iran's supreme leader warned the U.S. against an attack and rejected Trump's call to surrender. You don't seriously think that I'm going to answer that question, Trump said when a reporter asked if the U.S. would attack Iran at the White House. I may do it, I may not do it. I mean, nobody knows what I'm going to do. Earlier Wednesday, Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei warned in a national broadcast address, the Americans must understand any U.S. military incursion will undoubtedly lead to irreversible consequences. Their comments came during nearly a week of fighting between the U.S. ally Israel and Iran, and amid signals from the U.S. and Israeli officials that Trump could be considering an attack on Iran. In a string of social media posts on Tuesday yesterday, Trump demanded Iran's unconditional surrender and boasted, "We now have total and complete control of the skies over Iran," raising speculation that U.S. forces were already more involved than previously acknowledged. The Supreme Leader responded to the demand in his address on Wednesday today, his second public appearance since Israelis launched strikes on his country last week. "This is a nation that will never surrender to any form of imposition," he said. On Tuesday, Trump also issued a direct threat against the Supreme Leader. "We know exactly where the so-called Supreme Leader is hiding. He is an easy target, but he is safe there. We are not going to take him out or kill him, at least not for now." Trump spoke with national security teams. Trump met with the national security team in the White House Situation Room for over an hour on Tuesday to discuss the conflict. The meeting took place shortly after Trump left a summit of a group of 7 of the biggest economies in Canada a day early to work on what he called a real end to Iran's nuclear program. Trump has repeatedly stated that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. A person briefed on the matter, speaking on conditions of anonymity due to the sensitivity of the issue, told NPR that Israel believes that the U.S. will eventually join the offensive against Iran and is currently awaiting a formal decision from Washington. There was little sign of diplomatic effort underway. Trump told reporters on Friday that Iranian officials had reached out to try to negotiate. They even suggested they come to the White House, Trump said. And I said, "It's very late for that," he said. Wow. There you have it, you guys. Man, let me know your thoughts in the comments. But it looks like Iran has rejected Trump's what he called final effort, his last-ditch effort, his proposal to try to come to a peaceful resolution. So it looks like they are saying they will never surrender, and the United States is positioning and getting ready to go into all-out war with Iran. and devastate them, take out the supreme leader, hit their nuclear facilities underground with bunker busters, and essentially topple the leadership and the government of Iran, and it might bring in an entirely new system, a new replacement. Let me know your thoughts. What do you think is going to happen? Do you think the U.S. is going to destroy Iran? If you think so, put yes. If you think no, put no. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Now, we will see, and I will keep you up to date, because today is June 18th, 2025, and it is currently 3:26 p.m. Central Standard Time here in the United States. I will keep you up to date. We are likely going to be seeing a response here very soon. If we do, I will do an update for you today or tomorrow. But I believe that there's going to be a whole lot coming out on this very soon. We will see if the United States is going to strike Iran, or if there's going to be some sort of peace deal agreement that is worked out. Now, regardless, like I said, I'll let you know here on the channel. Cite the sources, put it on the screen, read right from it, so that way you can see it for yourself and know that it is the latest. And to stay up to date, like I said, it's totally free. Why not hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell, hit the like button if you appreciate the updates. You haven't done so yet. Looks like I need almost just 30 likes to have 1,000 while we're live. Helps out the channel a ton. I appreciate it. And also, as I mentioned before, if you're somebody that's interested in investing in gold or silver right now, with all of the instability, with the global chaos that could be impacting the economy, you're concerned about the rising prices of goods, consider my friends over at Lear Capital. You can give them a call. It's totally free. They'll be able to help you out and give you free information about investing. Check them out. Thanks for Lear making that available today. But that is the latest, you guys. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will catch you in the next one. Take care. God bless. This is Steve.